What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and as always, thank you for clicking on this video. It's finally time. We're coming to the end of the year, the time that we get to look back at some of the best and worst movies of 2021. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my personal list of my top 10 best movies that I saw this year. Now, I did not see all the movies. I didn't see every movie of 2021, and for the majority of this list, I do have an individual video review for each movie. There are a few on here that I probably did not review. I think only like one or two, but I'm gonna go ahead and just take advantage and give a little quick summary for each of these movies. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into my top 10 best movies of 2021. All right, starting out at number 10. Number 10, I went ahead with Eternal. Now, a lot of people are mixed on Eternals. There's a lot of mixed feelings. Some people ended up really loving it. A lot of people ended up just really hating it. They said that it didn't feel like an Eternals movie. But to me, I personally liked it. I mean, it did have some flaws. It was a long time. I mean, I didn't really feel the runtime on this movie. It's over 2 hours. But I can see definitely how it could have been cut down. But again, it's because a lot of the characters, a lot of characters they have to flesh out, that you have to really ground and develop, and I think that's where the major flaw was. But at the end of the day, I really did enjoy seeing these new heroes that a lot of us just haven't heard about, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. Coming in at number 9 is Antlers. Now, a lot of people, I didn't really hear a lot of people talking about this movie. I feel like this movie didn't get as much attention as I believe it should have. What I really like about this movie is that it's not only just another horror film, but it weaved in the theme of abuse, child abuse, drug addiction, and just those cities where drug addiction is very heavily, and you can see the poverty that it has, the effect that it has on those cities and the people. And I like how it tied in those elements along with the fear, along with horror. And it was just a very enjoyable, it's a very depressing movie, I'll tell you that much. It is very, very depressing, but it's something that I highly recommend. It's really, for the most part, it's not really cliche since we are talking about the horror film. Coming in at number 8. Number 8 is going to go to Godzilla vs. Kong. Even though this movie has some things where it doesn't make any sense, especially when it comes to the science, the science that they try to explain of the origins of these titans, of where they're coming from and what ultimately their goal is. It makes no sense. It makes no type of sense, but we all know what we came here for. We just wanted to see some monsters fight, and that's what we got. We just wanted to see Godzilla go toe to toe with Kong, and this movie knows what it is. It knows who it's for. It didn't try to lay it on thick when it came to the science, when it came to the human characters. Nah, like, we all knew this was coming. This is what we wanted, what a lot of the fans wanted, and we were pleased. This is all we wanted to see. Who could care less about the human characters? Who could care less about the science and blah blah blah? No, we got the action, we got the fight, and everyone's good. Coming in at number 7, we got Don't Look Up. Now, I don't have an actual review for this movie, but since I recently just saw it, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna have actually time, so I just went ahead and just gonna do a little quick review here for this movie. It's a lot of people, you could say that it's very satire, but to me, this movie deals with a lot of topics, real life topics, and it tries to tie in some comedy to it, because it's about how these two astrologers, they discover this comet, this big giant comet that is on its way to Earth, and it's coming directly to Earth, and they have a little bit over 6 months before it makes an impact, and it's a extinction level type of impact. All of humanity, all of Earth will just be destroyed. And these two astronomers are played by Jennifer Lawrence and Leo DiCaprio, and they try to go on the media and the news and all these talk shows and explaining like what's going on. They even go as far as telling the president, the Oval Office, what's going on. They just think it's a joke, and I feel like that's the way that these people respond, and how they don't take things seriously because they're so distracted with a bunch of other really just things, that a bunch of nonsense that don't make sense. it really hits home. It's I would expect to see this in the real world, especially when it came to Meryl Streep's character. She plays the president. She's a female U.S. president, and you could easily see or compare it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to compare it to the Trump administration, just Trump and his whole team, the way that they respond. Like they're just focused on sex scandals, they're worried about other stuff in their personal lives, and the rest of the world is just worried about other stuff that's going on with other celebrities. So really, no one's paying attention. And I feel like that would be an actual real life response if that were to happen. So then they try to weave in the comedy, and sometimes some characters are funny. Some things that are said are actually funny. They do work, but then there are times where I don't know if the goal was to really make you burst out laughing in a moment of high tension. But there were some moments where I was like, wow, like that's not even funny at all. Like it's just because it's very serious. You start to, since it's so relatable, especially during a pandemic that we're living on right now, you're just like, man, this is actually something that would happen. You really do see that. And again, the tone changes. It's in a very emotional roller coaster ride. It starts out being very funny, and then when it starts getting serious, you could tell that it starts getting real serious. The tone just completely changes. And even though some people might say it's depressing, but hey, you know what? It really does depict how humans, especially nowadays, would react to a certain catastrophic situation like this one. So I really gotta give props to Netflix, man, for doing this. So coming in at number six is gonna be Reminiscence. Reminiscence was some people. I guess this is another one that had mixed reviews because there was a lot. I saw a lot of people comparing it to, I think it was Blade Runner and some other film. But there's it. What really pulled me into this film is that dystopian future that the film shows. This dystopian city, the whole just the whole setting of this film is what really pulled me. Everything is underwater. Everybody is kind of depressed. And the other thing that really pulled me to this film is how everybody in this world, in this movie, is just wants to relive, just wants to be back when everything was good, because there's a certain war or something that broke out, and everyone wishes that times were good as back then. So they go to Hugh Jackman, and he's running this business where he has this machine where you can relive whatever memory of your choosing. And again, just like Don't Look Up, it really hits home because a lot of people just wish that times were that we weren't living in this pandemic. Everyone is always looking back to how times were before the pandemic. So that's what really pulled me into this film. Number five. Number five is gonna go to Last Night in Soho. It's a, I don't even know if they're gonna consider it a thriller or a horror. It has a little bit of both, so it's kind of a mix of both. And what I really like about it is that some it's not as subtle. It's not as, you don't see the twist come, even though I did see it, but towards the end. But it's something that you are wondering, okay, what the heck is going on? You're just so into the visuals, the way that the film is set in the 60s, and the music, the vibe. It really puts you in the 60s world, and it's kind of like this other interdimensional world that Thomas and Mackenzie's character goes in, and you really get pulled into that, and you're into the story, you're into the mystery. You try to put the pieces together yourself as you go along. The runtime towards the middle seems kind of long, but then it starts picking itself back up. And once you get to the end, if you were able to solve it along the way, then you're like, wow, I knew it, I knew it. But if you just didn't, then you're gonna be in for a surprise. But all in all, it's a good movie. Coming in at number four, it's gonna be King Richard. King Richard, starring Will Smith. He plays the father of Serena and Venus Williams, two either the two greatest tennis players or two of the best. You know who they are. That's the whole point. And it's the story of him. It's not really so focused. Venus and Serena are not the main focus. It's more of what their dad did to bring them up to stardom. He highly believes in his daughters that they're gonna be real good at tennis, that they're gonna be the next big thing that breaks out, and nobody can take that away from him. But as you're watching it, you're like, Will Smith's kind of, he's kind of a freeloader. Like his character, of course, he's kind of a freeloader. He tries to really take advantage of all these opportunities, but you don't care. You like him so much. You like his determination, his belief that he has in his daughters. That you're like, yeah, dude. You're like, yeah, go get it. Go take advantage of every situation that comes up. Him and all the supporting characters that are in this thing, like John Bernthal, they're all great. Everything here works. Sometimes his accent, he kind of is kind of laying it on thick at some points in the movie, but everything else other than that works. Coming in at number three is gonna be A Quiet Place Part Two. Now I know there's some places I think they saw this film in 2020. They saw it last year, like right before the pandemic actually hit. So this is probably not an official, actual 2021 movie, but this is where the majority of people saw it. So that's why it's on this list. I saw it this year. I didn't get to see it last year like some people, but I thought this was a very well done sequel to the original that we got. And again, just like the first one, that whole absence of sound is what pulls you, what really adds on to the horror element, to the horror theme of this genre. And John Krasinski did an amazing job doing this sequel. The only bummer that I have is that the whole family dynamic wasn't there like in the first one. We kind of tend to have this split between all these characters. There's some characters that are on this way, some characters go another way. They're split up, so they're dealing with this in different situations. They're not You don't have that dynamic together as like the first one. That's the only bummer for me. But all in all, it was highly well done. Sequel coming in at number two. Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Free Guy, and I didn't mention this in my review, but earlier, most recently, when I was thinking about it, I was like, this is pretty much The Matrix, and I only thought of it because I was watching the Matrix trilogy since I wanted to prepare for the Matrix Resurrections. I'm like, wait a minute, this is just like the Matrix, except it's just with comedy, and it's Ryan Reynolds, and it has to do with him being in a video game, and this video game is pretty much the Matrix. This other dimension that we see on screen, it's the same exact thing, and I can't believe it took me a while to even think about it. But obviously Ryan Reynolds is a highly charismatic dude. Like, you can't help but to like him. I mean, he's playing Ryan Reynolds. He's playing himself like he does in a lot of his movies, especially nowadays. And everything was well done. Pacing was very well done. Visuals seemed great. I didn't make that Matrix reference before, but then now that I think about it, I was, wait a minute, this is a Matrix. But regardless, it had me laughing. It was a very enjoyable movie, and I had my doubts about this because just because of the whole video game element that it had. I thought it was just gonna try and like shoehorn a bunch of other markets, a bunch of other properties, but it didn't do that at all, and I was glad that they didn't. All right, so the number one movie, and I'm probably just fanboying out on this one. I'm probably just being like a Marvel fanboy, but it really, I can admit when a Marvel movie is bad. I can at least admit that. But I think this movie was just hyped up so long. I could even blame the hype, but it's probably no question that No Way Home is not only was it, I don't know if it's the biggest, I don't know how its opening box office numbers are doing right now, but to me, it's the number one movie that I saw this year. And you call it what you want, but hey, I was very well satisfied. I was actually really well nervous. I would have liked this movie even more, and it was just if we didn't have all these spoilers, if we didn't have all these leaks. But all in all, not only did it give a well, at first I thought it was going to give a closure to the trilogy, but apparently no. We have more movies coming, but not only did I guess it gave closure to that first trilogy, and now it's going to move on to a different phase of Spider-Man, a different phase of Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think it ended with a good closure with the characters that he was interacting with, and now it's time to set up with. It really did a good job of just giving that setup for what's to come. He's growing up. It was this whole trilogy pretty much. It's his coming of age, the longest coming of age story that we got, and I'm really looking forward to what's coming ahead. So that was my top 10 best movies of 2021 list. I want to know from you, what is your top 10 movies that you saw this year? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button, smash the subscribe button. Stay in tune for my top 10 worst movies of 2021. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep watching this channel and keep watching movies.